The reason you overthink everything from decisions to conversations, the relationships you have, is because you don't have a stable idea of who you are. The longer you keep looking to others to define who you are or even to form an opinion on yourself or how you should show up, the heavier your life would feel, because you keep doing this and one day you wake up and realize, wait, I don't even know who I am. And this is what having a weak self-concept does. It makes you feel like you need to perform in every single situation. And I'll give you an example. I used to spend most of my time trying to match people's energy. I would feel like, yeah, it was my superpower. I could walk into any room and just blend in, fit in, and just have casual conversations, and we would vibe so well. I thought since I could make people comfortable, I could make them laugh, there was no initial awkwardness. I was feeling myself thinking this was the way to go. Because to be honest, I never bothered if they would match my energy, if they would be a good fit for me. I was like, you know what, don't worry, I would be a good fit for you. But obviously, as time goes on, I started to feel drained. I started to feel, oh my god, I have no genuine connection. No one just gets me. But then why would anybody get you when you don't even show yourself? Why would anybody get you when you don't even get yourself? Because if you truly get yourself, you would show up as your true self, not showing up to blend in. So if you can relate to this, or if you've ever even said, was I too loud? Was I too this? Was I too much? Should I be more of this? Should I be more of this? Just for other people's opinions, then this episode is also for you. Because I'm going to be talking about how you can build a strong self-perception and finally stop performing and start living. Because the former me didn't really like meeting new people, because I will always burden myself with trying to match their energy and trying to make them comfortable, to remove the awkwardness. But now I'm like, you know what, I'm going to show up as myself, and I don't really burden myself with trying to match people's energy. If we don't match, if we don't vibe, it's completely okay. I don't have to change parts of myself just to match their vibe. Hi everyone, it's Princess and you're watching or listening to Inspired Up Podcast. So before we even get to stop performing and start living, we need to understand how we can actually stop performing. And the only way to stop performing is by fully knowing yourself and fully accepting yourself. And this only happens when you build a strong self-concept. And a self-concept is just the way you see yourself, things that you feel you're worthy of, and how you view your place in the world. If you view yourself as this much, then that is who you are. If you view yourself as this much, then that's who you are. It's basically your choice, because we're not born into a self-concept. We are the ones who build and make our self-concept. So see it as your internal story that you live by every single day, because this shapes how you show up. This shapes the decisions you make. It also determines the energy you bring to the function and the boundaries you set. So when you know all these things about yourself, when you have a really strong idea of who you are, no one else can define you. You're not bound by other people's perceptions of you. People will have their objections, people will have their opinions, but you won't let any of that stop you, because you know who you are. You don't bend towards other people's energy, you don't lose yourself into what other people's opinions are, and you don't doubt yourself. But this is where a lot of us struggle, including me. We want to fit in so bad, we want to feel welcomed, we want to feel loved, we want to feel included, and the only way to do this is by conforming to the energy of that space. If you go to a place where they are so loud and so outgoing, you'll be forced to come out of your shell if you want to fit in. It's either you leave or you do things that would make you stay there. And this is where a lot of us struggle, because when we step into new places, we forget who we are. We're so focused on fitting in, and we're so focused on being accepted by this new space that we're in. But the thing is that when you now present yourself as this type of person, you get lost in the sauce. People accept you for this mask that you're putting on, and then after a while you get tired of putting on this mask, and then you feel empty, you feel drained, because you always ask yourself, was that me? Was I this? Did I do this enough? Because you're putting on a show, you always assess yourself after a show. So having a strong self-concept is having a strong story about who you are, and this is the story that you carry into every room. You don't enter a room and then change the story. When you have a strong self-concept, you show up as you consistently, no matter what room you're in. You don't have to shrink some parts of yourself to feel accepted, or you don't have to exaggerate some parts of yourself to feel accepted. And more importantly, your identity is built on self-validation instead of external validation, because people might validate you for doing things that you don't really enjoy, but if you seek this external validation so much, you're going to keep doing those things, and then you're going to feel so exhausted after doing things that don't really align with who you are. And the best thing ever is that your identity doesn't collapse every single time you meet someone new. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but there are sometimes where you see someone, you know them, but when you see them in a different space or a different light, they act completely different. It's because they always change according to the room they are in. They always change based on where they are in and what they are doing and what's accepted. If you're wondering, oh, why do I need to have a strong self-concept if I can easily blend in and if I can make new friends and talk to people easily? With time, it will get draining. And don't you want the people that you meet, the new amazing people that you meet in your life, don't you want them to know the real you? Do you want to keep putting on this mask or keep putting on this fake version of yourself just to make them happy? What if what you think would make them happy isn't even what they would approve of? Now what? Would you now change back to your original self, or would you keep studying people to create new personalities, or what? And if after any conversation you have, you find yourself panicking if you were too much or too little, when you have a strong self-perception, you don't bother yourself with if they felt you were too much or if they felt you were too little. You're just like, this is who I am and this is how I showed up. I showed up as my authentic self, and if they like it, cool. If they don't, still cool, but we move. And you'll be at peace because you're not trying to follow a script that you don't even know. If you're trying to please people so much, you're following their script and you don't even know what they want. You don't even know their script. When you look inward and stop following what other people may or may not want, you stop wondering, what should I do? How should I act? What should I say? What shouldn't I say? All these things. And I've been thinking about it. Why don't we have a strong self-concept? Why is it that we just kind of blend in and we just go with the flow? First of all, we all want to be loved and we all want to be accepted. It's easy for me to sit here and say, be yourself, everyone is going to love you regardless. But it's very, very hard to put it in practice. You might tell some jokes that the other person might not find funny. There are parts of yourself that are weird that the other person might not find the good kind of weird. But you still want to be loved and accepted by this other person. But like I said in many of my other videos, the external validation you're seeking in other people is the self-love you didn't give to yourself. If you want to be so loved and accepted by others, maybe you're not loving yourself enough. Maybe you're not accepting yourself enough. And your body craves this love and acceptance, which now makes you seek it in other places. But you should seek it from yourself first. Trust me, when you start loving yourself and when you start accepting yourself, you're not going to be so bothered if they love you. And you don't love everyone, so why should everyone even love you? If you notice that you're praised for being funny, you always want to be on top of your game. You always want to be cracking the jokes, even if you're not in the mood, or even if you're not necessarily someone that loves to be the funniest in the room, or that loves to be the loudest, or the one that loves saying things. Maybe you're more of a listener, but people appreciate you for talking more. That may be good, but that may also leave you drained if you always have to carry conversations. Something else that I must say is that it's because we're lazy. Nobody was born with a strong idea of who they are or who they want to become. We all have to build it and discover it as time goes by. But we're so lazy in the sense that we just go with the flow. Whoever's voice is the loudest, we just listen to their opinions and we just do what they're saying. But it's like at this stage, there's so much information out there. Everyone is putting up a camera, saying their own opinions, saying how people should act, saying what they think is weird, saying their aches, saying what they're attracted to. And if you keep listening to these things without having an idea of who you want to be, how you want to show up, who you want to become in the future, you would adapt to their opinions so bad, because it even gets to a point where everyone had a common agreement on something, but maybe one really influential person made a comment disagreeing with what the idea was, and then everyone is like, yeah, you know what, I don't even agree with it anymore. This is now the new way to do things. It gets to a point where that is unhealthy. It gets to a point where you have to just step back from reading into other people's opinions too much and other people's ideologies too much, and try to form your own. Because sometimes we move too fast without even reflecting on life. When you move from one space to another, let's say you transition from high school to university, did you even try and do a reflection on how you want to show up? Because you're in a new space and you can show up like a new person. I know it might be difficult to show up as a new person in your old space, but now that you're in a new space, would you ask yourself, okay, how do I want to show up? Who do I want to be known as? What do I want to be known as? But we all tend to getting to know people, getting to know the space before we show up, before we choose who we want to be. But that's not how it's supposed to be at all. So ask yourself, is this really me, or am I just adapting to whoever is around me or whatever is around me? So if you're wondering, okay, Princess, how do I build a strong self-concept? Firstly, you have to reflect, because our eyes and our ears, they take information from the outside world. The only way that we can take information from ourselves is when we actually become intentional about it and when we actually do some reflection on our own. I also keep saying you have free will to show up as whoever you want to be. You can literally be any woman you want to be. It's in your hands, it's in your power. So ask yourself, do I really want to be this person? The ideas that these people have of me, do I really is that me? Ask yourself, who are you right now and who do you want to become? Because you can say, okay, who I am right now isn't really the best, but I'm just going to go with it. No, you can become whoever you want to be, because your self-concept is discovered and is built. It's not just default setting. And when you realize that you stepped back from other people's opinions and objections, you start to notice how some of your preferences weren't even yours. You start to notice how some of these things just rubbed off on you, and then you can put it to the side, like, you know what, I don't want to be that person anymore. I now want to be this, or I'm not that person, this is who I am. And always notice when you start shape shifting, because trust me, we've all been there when you're with a different group of people and then you're acting so different. And I try to put my foot down. You know what, if someone knows me from this walk of life and they meet me in a different walk of life, it's still going to be a consistent behavior. I'm not going to be a totally different person. So notice when you start shape shifting and remind yourself that that is not you. You just wanted to feel loved, just wanted to feel accepted, and that's normal. But next time, just be yourself. Next time, just show up as yourself. Show up in a consistent manner according to the story that you have told yourself. And I know we all love to think, we all love the imagine the woman you want to be, but start affirming it through action. Don't just imagine and daydream who you can be or who you want to be. Do those things. What are the things that she does? How does she move? How does she act? When you have that down, start moving like that and start acting like that. That's the only way to become it. Because if you keep daydreaming or you keep thinking about it, it's never going to happen. It's just going to be a thought. It's just going to be an imagination. It's not going to be who you are. And something I recently discovered is that we shouldn't chase vibes or we shouldn't chase aesthetic. And I know that's so difficult because we all want to look a certain way, and we even think being a certain type of person has to include looking a certain way. Well, that may be true because who you are on the inside kind of reflects on how you present yourself. But we shouldn't put aesthetics and vibes first. We should put our values first. For example, if you notice that you want to be a bubbly person, you like talking to people, nonchalant bone in your body basically, but the aesthetic you love is mysterious, dark, that aesthetic is actually compromising on who you are. So if you keep chasing this mysterious aesthetic, you're not going to satisfy that itch to be bubbly, to be a people person, to talk to people, to get to know people, to always reach out to people. So don't focus on aesthetics, because focusing on aesthetics means that you're focusing on how it looks instead of how it feels. Because you may look good, you may look confident, but are you really confident? Are you really satisfied? Are you really happy? And let yourself evolve. It's completely normal to grow out of people, grow out of places, grow out of things, grow out of hobbies. Don't force yourself to stay in a place because it used to make you happy or because it was so rewarding while it was happening. You must not stretch or shrink just to fit in and just to make other people happy. Because when you know a space isn't for you and then you step back, then you're actually affirming who you are through your actions. And lastly, stop looking at other people to tell you who you are. Don't find this type of person and try to mirror them or try to copy them or try to match their vibe or try to copy their aesthetic. That's just going to lead to you feeling so empty, so drained, not seen, all these other insecurities. Stop worrying about how you're perceived. Stop worrying, do they think I'm funny? Do they think I'm an extrovert? Do they think I'm an introvert? Do they think I'm weird? Do they think I'm quirky? Like, stop worrying about these things because they might not even notice in any way. They just think, yeah, she's cool, she's chill. And you're here spiraling, thinking about how you can show up better next time when you could just show up as you. And don't get me wrong, you can always show up as better, but that better should be a better version of you, not a better version of what you think other people would want. Because what other people want is constantly changing. Today they may want an introvert, tomorrow they may want an extrovert, tomorrow they may want a bubbly person. Always changing. So don't rely on what other people want, because your identity becomes clearer once you start looking at yourself from your own point of view. And you see some people that just have this quiet confidence. They are not doing too much just to feel accepted. That is the vibe. I know we're not chasing vibes, but that is the vibe that we should all aim for. Just that quiet confidence, that grounding, because you know who you are, you know what you want, and you're standing on business. And these are things that we might still be struggling with, that I know that I'm still struggling with sometimes. And this is just a reminder to you and to myself that we're learning and we're constantly adjusting to become a better version of ourselves, and that's completely normal. So if you enjoyed this podcast episode, please leave a comment or a like so I know you really enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next week's episode.